Hello, everyone. Blue Star Saber here once again to do another Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Season 2, Episode 1 and 2 review. Episodes are I played Dodgeball with Cannibals and Demon Pigeons Attack. Both episodes are named after chapters in the Percy Jackson novels, but yeah, I'm a bit late on this one as the episode came out about over a week ago. Granted, I did not realize what time it was on, which is Wednesdays, which is a bit inconvenient because that's when I do sword classes. But luckily, let's see, I have given too much information there, but my personal life, but yeah. So let's see. With the holidays are about, I have more free time to try and watch the episodes. So granted, next week is Christmas Eve, so I'm not sure I have time to review the episode then. Next episode, but again, I have to review episode 3. But I'm just dawdling on here. So, yeah, anyway, Percy Jackson Season 2. Basically based off of the second novel of Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson and Olympians, The Sea of Monsters, which is personally my favorite of the Percy Jackson novels, at least the original ones. And also, to be fair, I like also The Son of Neptune's also my favorite in like the sequel series. But yeah, but as I like to call these classic Percy Jackson adventures. But yeah, this season is basically following off the events of the last season, of which Percy, Annabeth, and Grover, where Percy found out he was the son of Poseidon, needed to try and retrieve Zeus's lightning bolt, which he was framed for stealing, only to find out that it was one of the other campers named Luke who stole it, who was working for Kronos. Now that Kronos is making his moves, will we see how will he get Luke to see his agent to make moves, and how will Percy and his friends react? So yeah, basically that's basically the description, but of the last season. But now it's time for me to get to the actual summary of the review. And the episode sort of starts off with Grover on an island finding a skeletal corpse of a satyr like him. He picks up the pipes, and there he ends up running into someone called Allison Sims, an original character to the show, who is a demigod under Luke's faction, if you will. Let's see, they get into a bit of a scuffle. Let's see, once they find out that, Grover finds out that she's defected, he uses the pipes and to use the nature to grab them. But then a sea monster comes in and attacks and grabs Grover, if you will. And then Percy Jackson wakes up, and we learn that he's gone to a new school now, but he's also befriended Tyson, who turns out is a Cyclops that Sally Jackson fighted into their home. And as we see a bit of a montage, Tyson causes all kinds of problems for Percy Jackson, but nevertheless, he still tries to look out for them. Anyway, they're going. Let's see, Tyson has made like a sort of compass in the morning, but yeah, they're heading off to their school, last day of school. But Annabeth shows up. Let's see, tell him to come along. Or at least Percy, she's a bit reluctant with Tyson, but nevertheless they go. They've been taking a ride with the Grey sisters as Annabeth got them to get there. They basically talk about, as they're basically driving, they're talking about danger of the camp, stuff with like going on with Grover, and a little bit of teasing of Percy Jackson and Annabeth being boyfriend and girlfriend, which, of course, they both deny, particularly Annabeth. And there's also some teasers of Tyson saying, the girl in the picture on your wall or something. But yeah. Eventually, after Percy takes their only one eye, they get some coordinates to where Grover is, 32, 12, 72. I'm not remember the exact order. But as a Percy Jackson fan, I should probably remember them. But oh well. But they arrive to camp. They're attacked by cannibal giants who are throwing flaming dodgeballs. Tyson can't really get in because he is a Cyclops. Eventually, Percy tries to defend him. Eventually, Annabeth permits Tyson to come in, but one of the giants comes in. But the other two, but this giant gets killed by Clarice and a bunch of other demigods. They end up sort of. Let's see, the remaining giants, which was only 2, really end up retreating. As a result, let's see, eventually, Percy and Annabeth realized that this attack of the giants was a distraction when the other demigods left. And they realize that Luke, and they head to like Thalia's tree where Luke has stabbed it with like his blade and poisoned it. And this is where the character, I believe his name is, of course, let's see, the Tantalus, let's see, arrives and ordering Clarice and the other demigods to kill him as a monster, but Poseidon then claims him as one of his sons. So as a result, he is now Percy Jackson's brother, which of course gets a laugh from Dionysus about how Poseidon can't seem to keep his trident to himself, if you will. So yeah. During this, they learn that Chiron has been fired for being a son of Kronos, and that Tantalus has taken over, which Percy recognizes him as, as the person in hell that's being the underworld is punished that cannot eat, which I think you get a little hints about there when I think Dionysus offers some popcorn, but he can't eat it and all that stuff. So yeah, let's see. Well, granted, he neither likes Percy Jackson because it's probably because he's been given all kinds of stuff from Dionysus. So, granted, Dionysus keeps calling Percy Jackson Peter, and doesn't like Annabeth because she tried to communicate with Chiron with a golden drachma, with the iris messages, but instead got her and all that stuff. So, yeah. Let's see, he's now in charge and or taking over Chiron's job. And they're trying to do this chariot race, but Percy and Annabeth protest about Thalia's tree, but they don't necessarily believe them. Anyway, Percy is mocked by the other campers for having Tyson as a brother. This leads to some sort of Percy to ask, did you know, and all that stuff, with Tyson saying that he was only told that his mother was like a nature spirit, and his father was a god, but didn't know exactly which god it was, to be fair, but so we had that, but then Annabeth comes along, offers to take a walk with Percy, but Percy, knowing that Tyson doesn't want to be alone, tries to offer to come in, but she is a bit reluctant, and this leads to a bit of a sort of tension, if you will. There's a bit of talk between the two. I can't recall if it was at the beginning of earlier where Percy tried to ask how movies and regular life was for her, like riding roller coasters, if I recall, but yeah, let's see. And Percy is wondering why you never reached out to her with the iris message if you had a few coins, as he only got like a coin from like Sally this morning and didn't realize that she had it. Which Annabeth wondered, like, why didn't you do that for communication? So you had that, and but yeah. And also Tyson talks about how Sphinx used to bully him, and you could see the scars on his back. Let's see. Anyway, Annabeth goes to Thalia's tree to try and see if she can promising her she'll find a way to cure this. Eventually, Percy Jackson sleeps, and then he ends up encountering, Grover, who now they realize that they have an empathy link, which gets a funny bit of like swapping each other's clothes and all that stuff, with Grover talking about the golden, I believe the the golden fleece, and that's what Luke is searching for, when he thought at first they might have been searching for Pan, because Grover's out on the quest for that, but no, the Cyclops has been using the golden fleece to lure satyrs in, because apparently the golden fleece smells a lot like Pan. And eventually, as the dream is ending, Grover gives Percy the same exact numbers that the Grey sisters do, which Percy ends up waking up, realizing that, their coordinates to see a monster, and goes to tell Annabeth, what they are, ending like the episode. Though I think there was also a little post. Let me just check. Post credits, which I think was it Percy and it might have been Percy and Annabeth, but I can't recall. It might have been Chris or Grover, but yeah. Anyway, overall, my thoughts. Well, I'm a bit speed running this since I hadn't had a chance to rewatch the episode since I watched it a few days before. Anyway, I think this episode was pretty good. and for most part, it does follow the books, but does see a few things different. I don't mind. I don't like, for example, like seeing a bit more of Grover's quest and him exploring, seeing like that dead satyr with the skeleton remains. I'm fine with like Grover showing a bit of Grover's quest and then encountering some original demigods, if you will. Introducing someone called Alison Sims. I mean, I don't mind that, if you will. I don't mind the show inventing a bunch of demigods that are new. And I actually kind of find it interesting that they're adding some new demigods to, like, I think, Luke's side, if you will, because I do know that the Sea of Monsters, they basically did all the demigods. They basically included all the demigods that had some, form of allegiance to Kronos' army at one point, be it Selena, Chris, and Ethan, rather than doing their natural sort of like character journeys to get to that part. But yeah, so so I don't mind that bit of the quest. Granted, I will admit I was a bit surprised that they changed the fact that Percy knows straight away that Tyson's a Cyclops rather than a Cyclops rather than a thought it was just like a big human and all that stuff. But I suppose they made the sort of montaging the whole school life of like Tyson just seemed to just cause you get an idea of like Tyson being a bit of who he is, causes a bit of problems for Percy, sort of building up to like, while Percy cares for Tyson, he can sometimes find him a bit of a problem when it's revealed that he's actually his half brother, if you will. But I think the montage works, like the gist of it. Tyson is a bit of a klutz. He's not really that popular, but Percy defends him, even though it does affect his social life, if you will. So it's like that. And also, it seems like they were mostly skipping skipping the dodgeball match in the school thing. So I suppose it sort of makes sense, though granted, they seem to have swapped, decided to add the giant cannibals and the attack out on the outborders of the camp, if you will, replacing the metal bulls. Granted, if I had to guess, the reason they probably did this is probably because, being a Disney Plus show, they probably did not have necessarily the budget for those giant CGI bulls, if I had to guess. So granted, I don't know, The Mandalorian had the budget for quite a few of its CGI creatures, but I guess they didn't have it for like these mechanical bulls. But yes, that's when you learn that Tyson is really a Cyclops. But fair enough. I can see why they chose. I can see why they did what they did of like cutting out most of the school part and having the giants instead of the bulls for like probably for budget reasons and effects reasons probably. So I think these changes here, I think, are not necessarily a problem from the book. So yeah. So I think that was pretty good, and just having Annabeth just get them in instead of just having like a bit of a chaos thing. So I thought that was a good way of merging certain parts of the books together. One change I'm not sure really works is like Percy and Annabeth learning straight away after realizing that those giants were just a distraction, that seeing Luke just poison Thalia's tree. I think I'm more of a fan of like how the book did it, of like the trees being poisoned, Chiron gets blamed, and then it's fired instead of just being Kronos' son, because as Percy points out in the show, technically Zeus and his father are sons of Kronos. So it's like, but yeah, it's like, so it's like, let's see, it's a sort of mystery that the camp doesn't know that gets Chiron fired, but it's like a bunch of campers know and they try to tell, but it's like, oh, we just don't believe you because we hate you campers or something. I feel like the book did it a bit more clever, especially that really clever way Percy gets Luke to confess, and then clear to in front of like the entire campus. let's see, and get Chiron his job back, but no. Well, I should probably say, if you're listening to this, if you're only TV watchers, there will be book spoilers. So, yeah. So I'm not sure I'm really fond of that change of the way Chiron's getting fired, and also Luke, Ritzy, Percy, and Annabeth knowing about the tree being poisoned. Well, other than that, let's see. I think they're more or less accurate of like Campers mocking Percy for having a Cyclops for a brother. Let's see, Annabeth, let's see, it's sort of, you can see the distrust of the Cyclops, but instead of like the massive falling out that you see between Percy and Annabeth about it, which leads to being hostile into the chariot races, and let's see what you see in the next episode, kind of thing. But I guess I tried to calm it down. I mean, Percybeth fans probably got some nice teasers of like the Gorgon sisters and like of Tyson saying, "Oh, Percy has your picture on his mirror," and the Gorgon Grey sisters saying, "Oh, is Percy your boyfriend?" So you basically got a bit of ship tease for Percybeth fans. So I think that's fine. What I did. Granted, it seems like conflict is being a bit more of a tone down of like, why didn't you contact? If you had a drop, why didn't you contact me and all that stuff? So yeah, it seems like they're trying to be this show is trying to do a less hostile version of their falling out kind of thing at this point. But who knows? I have to wait and see where it goes, especially when I get to the next episode. I do like Grover's sort of interactions with Percy and them swapping clothes. I mean, granted, it was just Grover that was just wearing the ridiculous clothing, which you don't see until the next episode. But I think that's fine with the TV show to give more emphasis on the empathy link. So yeah, but I did like a little the scene there. You got Annabeth just talking to Thalia's tree. I thought that was a nice addition. I mean, since Percy Jackson's books are based on only Percy Jackson's perspective, you would not normally see this in like let's see, just Annabeth by herself. So it was nice to see that in the TV show to some extent. So yeah, just separating some things. Oh yeah, I suppose I do like even though I think Luke being shown to like hiccup. Let's see, Luke being shown to like poison the tree early. I did like seeing Blackjack and all that stuff. Oh, and we've got a comment from Power to the 99. I honestly do like most of the changes that Rick made for a series. Fair enough, yeah. I think for the most part, let's see, the changes that the show has done, I think most of them make sense. But granted, that I will say, I think some of the, like, for example, like the speed up for like the books of like the first chapters, like of the Cannibal Giants and the attack on the camp borders, I think merging those two, I think that's fine. Personally, the only real changes I'm not entirely sold on really are, let's see, Chiron's reasons for firing, and let's see, the Percy and Annabeth learning that Luke has seeing Luke poison the tree and not learning down the line later, but I have to see where they go with that. So yeah, I think most of the I think this first episode is solid. I think it's either a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. I think it's good. I think it did pretty good pacing. I did like Grover's added bit of a Grover's added storyline at the beginning with like this new original camper that's a part of Luke's army. I'm not sure if she'll be taking the role of any other of the actual ones that did at some point join Luke's army. But yeah, but I think that was nice. I don't mind like how Tyson and Percy met at the beginning and all that stuff. Let's see. Basically, yeah. Let's see. I'm fine with. Let's see. Most of the changes I'm fine with, minus like I said, seeing Luke's poison and what was it? Oh yeah, reasons for Chiron being fired. So but yeah. Other than that, I thought some of the other changes were funny, such as Dinus reacting to Percy having Tyson for a brother, and Percy recognizing Tantalus as the guy in the underworld that can't eat. Though granted, they seem to cut out the more dark aspect of Tantalus's story, but that you see here in the books. So yeah. So yeah, I think it was the first good episode, and yeah, let's see, made me excited for the second episode, which I didn't have time to watch until today. So yeah. Now on to the second episode. Let's see the demon pigeon attack, if you will, and yeah, where the episode basically sort of let's see, you see like the Sympathalian birds trying to attack camp, but the barrier protects it and destroys the monster. Percy and Annabeth talking about how long the barrier could last without the golden fleece. Let's see, where they are planning to try and do a way of like Annabeth to contact Chiron to see what to do while Percy distracts Tantalus, which you get that one let's see, Satyr. Let's see, informing that seems to be Tantalus's lackey to inform that Percy Jackson's out of his barracks, because I forgot to mention last episode he seems to be confined in there. Let's see, as we see him trying to drink water. Let's see, Annabeth is able to sort of sneak into the house. Let's see, to Tantalus's office, which is Chiron's. Message him, which you get this sort of funny moment of like him going like, "What's happened to my office?" But you also see Annabeth looking about, seeing Tantalus's wanted poster, seeing let's see, Chiron's stuff, including a recorder that will be a Chekhov's gun much later in the episode, where Percy is distracting Tantalus by talking about how he has a way to save the camp, talking about coordinates, getting some camp's attention. Tantalus tries to prevent this, but Percy, using like what Annabeth told her from the articles from the book, says that while he might be confined, that he is allowed to take part in activities like such as the chariot. Sorry, I got a bit of a cough going on. Such as the chariot. So Tantalus, let's see, begrudgingly leaps into it. Meanwhile, Annabeth is communicating with Chiron, in which tells that they need a quest to get the golden fleece, but tells Annabeth not to tell Percy nor let him on the quest, because it's something to do with this sort of great prophecy, and she does not really want to do so, but reluctantly sort of goes along, let's see, with Chiron's orders, if you will. As I should probably mention that at the moment, Chiron's with relatives in Miami who are like the party ponies, if you will. Granted, we only like see one of them in the background partying, but yeah. Let's see. I should probably mention that during, let's see, when Percy is talking, you see him talking to Chris Rodriguez, the son of Hermes, who is apparently the current camp counselor, as he seems to have replaced the Stoll brothers for this part. And you see a bit of flirting between him and Clarice. So Clarice is probably being a bit more of the forward one. But yeah, I forgot that part. Apologies there. Anyway, let's see. So, as Percy and Annabeth then talk about, I think Percy is like, let's see, back at Poseidon's cabin to find its chariot, which Annabeth arrives talking about what to do. Percy at first thinks that they should race together because, you know, let's see, his father created horses, her mother the chariot, they'd be the perfect team. But Annabeth, let's see, in trying to not try and tell Percy directly what Chiron told him, suggested they'd be on separate teams so they have more of a chance that since the winner of the chariot we're able to call whatever they decide, which would be a quest. So that way, if giving Percy the idea that if either one of them wins, they can pick the other to go on the quest. So, but yeah, so they do that. But granted, the chariot for the Poseidon's cabin is busted, so Percy goes to Tyson. Well, actually, he goes back to his cabin, where he sees Tyson fixing a new compass. and he offers to fix the thing. And Percy gives him a chance to offer to join him in the chariot races so that he can go and do some camp activities, if you will, and get out of the Poseidon's cabin. So you do have a little moment where they're talking about where Tyson's talking about writing a letter to Percy's mother. Let's see. So you do get some sort of bonding moments there, if you will. Anyway, you see the cabin, the chariots for Athena, Ares, Hermione, Hephaestus attending, seeing Annabeth is too anxious about the Sympaphilian birds arriving and all that stuff. With Tantalus explaining the rules, saying that use whatever dirty tricks. Though granted, Dionysus reminds him, and also not to kill each other. Though he says, Mindley says, try not to kill each other, but accidents can happen, which he's sort of hoping will happen to Percy Jackson, of course. Which you do see Percy and Tyson arriving where everyone is staring at them because, Tyson's a Cyclops. Before the race begins, Annabeth tells her fellow Athena, Cabinet, Hutzi, an original character called Bronte, to eliminate Percy if Percy and Tyson if they cross her, which she's a bit surprised by since because she thought that she and Percy were tight, but she doesn't really give an answer to why. Let's see, they do this, if you will. So why are you doing this if you're so tight with him? But she just says that I need you to do it, not giving an explanation. But we can see that Tyson seemingly seems to hear this, and the race begins. Let's see, Clarice takes out the Hephaestus cabin quite quickly, and they sort of smoke and all that stuff. And throughout the race, they're trying to repair the chariot to eventually explodes. In my own ways, it kind of reminds me of the sort of that one pod racer in the Phantom Menace. I couldn't get their pod race starting at the beginning, and then eventually explodes or goes flying in the air, if you will. So, but you basically see a bit of a race. Let's see, you see Percy clashing with, Clarice for a bit. Tyson was the one that's defending and all that stuff. Didn't really want to hurt anyone, but manages to get Clarice's brother Mark. Who is actually a character from the books. They're only mentioned in the Demigod Diaries, I think, or the Demigod Files. And granted, this is his full proper appearance. So actually, he was in the first season. So you do get at least some of the book characters in, but yeah. So let's see, he falls off. Annabeth and Clarice clash. Annabeth at first looks like it's in the read, but then those I believe they're called. Hold on, let me just get their names up again. The what are those? Let's see. The Scythian birds attack. The campers are in chaos. You even see them attacking Dionysus and Tantalus. Eventually, Percy and ends up being distracted. Clarice destroys the wheel on his chariot. He gets dragged to the floor, but Tyson holds on to him. Eventually, him and Annabeth also stops the chariot to try and go to Percy, and they try and find a way of taking out the birds, which she reveals that Heracles used loud noises to distract them and all that stuff, which Annabeth, remembering the tape from Chiron's office, uses that, and with radio with the horn, blows them all away, which then leads to a sort of meeting with of cabin and camps, if you will, where Tantalus decides that, okay, they need a quest, lies about how he got a dream about the glowing frieze and the coordinates when it was Percy, decides to have, Clarice be the sort of quest leader, if you will, since she finished the chariot, but also probably because he doesn't really like Percy and didn't want him to go on the quest, if you will. Let's see. You get let's see, you get like Percy trying to protest, saying he was the one that had the dreams and that stuff, but I think cabin members, particularly from Arius's cabin, telling him to stand down. Eventually, Clarice picks Annabeth since she said she had experience. And you get Percy trying to say that, let's see, his sea experts. And then, of course, you got like Mark from like the Arius cabin saying try and select me, or Bronte saying that she works well with Annabeth. So at first it looks like Clarice might pick Percy, but then Annabeth whispers, let's see, probably what Chiron told her into his ear. And eventually she picks Chris, who arguably it's hinting more of like her like for the guy. So, yeah. Percy gets upset with Annabeth, but gets even more upset and feels a bit betrayed when Tyson reveals what she said during the chariot about taking the Poseidon one out. And this really upsets Percy. He goes to sleep. Gets a dream with Grover again, and this time realizes that Grover's in a wedding dress because the giant the Cyclops. Sorry, I got mixed up with Cyclops and Cyclops and Giant there for a second, though I suppose Cyclops is going to be as big as Giants from what I can recall. And that the giant, let's see, what was his name again? I think it was Polyphemus, thinks Grover is a Cyclops woman with a goat scent. So it's goat scent perfume, so he's going to marry him in a week. But eventually, he's going to. But Grover thinks he's going to find out who he is, because at the moment he's stalling by saying the bride. Cyclops can't look at a groom, can't see the bride before the wedding, if you will. Let's see. He noticed that there's been some tension between him and Annabeth, and he does point out that when he sort of betrayed him last summer about in the Antsy Academy, he did so under Chiron's orders, which makes Percy realize that. So eventually Percy leaves his cabin. Let's see, the satyr that spied on him before reports Tantalus. Let's see, Tyson knows he's left. Annabeth comes and to the cabin, try and talk to Percy, but Tyson reveals he's not there. Then you've got like Percy about the beach asking a dad for a sign of approval of the quest, and then Hermes shows up, which on one hand sort of annoys Percy that, okay, so this father shows up, but not mine. But yeah, he gives Percy quite of the sort of the helpful items that that you see down the quest. I think it's like a win. Let's see how. Let me just. Let's see. For example, the vitamins that will come very useful. Vitamins, a bottle of magic multivitamins will become very useful down the line, and the thermos of the four winds. So gives that stuff, but then the topic of like Luke comes up, where Hermes wants Percy to try and save Luke, but of course he Percy doesn't think that Luke can be saved, and this sort of aids Hermes to be a bit more angry at Percy, saying you don't really give up on family. And just then, sort of got like as Percy sees that he's got a sort of like a new sort of like airboat, if you will, to like get to like the cruise ship. Let's see, as Betsy Hermes said, you need to board that thing. He doesn't give all the details, but Percy suspects he's hiding something. This is where Annabeth arrives, and then they have a bit of more of an argument of like Percy asking what you're not telling her. And eventually she admits she didn't like the regular normal human stuff because she's been so much for as a demigod that it's just like things like scary movies are like a joke to her. So yeah, but Percy tries to insist that that can all be it, and it seems like she has something else as well that she wanted to say. But of course, Tantalus arrives, trying to kill them both for trespassing, as he said that there's no that during like when they had their meeting earlier, campers are not allowed out of their cabins at night, and he's going to try and kill them with a crossbow. But Tyson comes in and helps them get aboard, and as like Tantalus is firing a few crossbows, hitting one on the boat, and Percy deflecting it, fails as they begin like their crest as a trio, as Tyson points out. ending that episode. So yeah. Anyway, I suppose I should give my thoughts on the second episode. Let's see. On one hand, there are some stuff I think they did right, I agree with, and that I think followed the books well, and some stuff that I don't know if I fully agree with, but yeah. Let's see where to start. I think that they definitely followed like the birds, like attacking camp very accurately. I thought that was done well with like the chariot race. I thought the effects were quite. I thought the designs were like pretty well done. I particularly like though granted I can't recall if I think the Hephaestus cabin got kind of screwed over because I think in the books they were a bit more. They lasted much longer than just being taken out first thing. But yeah. So I did like, but I did like it, how it seemed to remind me of like the Phantom Menace race a bit, with that one gritty, racky racer, if you will, that was taken out before he could even start. But yeah, so I thought that was kind of funny. I thought the effects of the birds were quite well done. I wonder if like the budget went to them rather than trying to make mechanical burners in the last episode. But yeah. On one hand, I do like how Percy and Annabeth are coordinating a plan of like having her sneak into the cabin to try and contact Chiron, and Percy just being a bit of a troublemaker, just getting Tantalus to draw his attention. Though, granted, I'm not sure I necessarily agree with the decision of Percy just telling him everything before, like when the camp is all together, if you will, which I'll get more into that later. But I do like how Percy using Annabeth's knowledge of camp rules to say how to get him to compete in the chariot races, much to his Tantalus' charging, but it's like saying, I hope you get hurt or something, but yeah. Honestly, I think the sort of Annabeth being ordered by Chiron not to tell Percy anything, arguably I think this is mostly done to cause friction and tension between Percy and Annabeth because, well, because it seems like they're not going to have their falling out over Tyson being a Cyclops and all that stuff. Because, as you know, in the books, that was what caused them to have their fallout a bit, and it was like a very hostile for like a few chapters before they made up after the bird situation. But yeah, that's not the case here. But I will admit, I think they did it. I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with this change, but I think they did it well with what they had with Annabeth telling one of her cabin mates to her cabin mate partner to take out the Poseidon thing worked quite well, especially since Tyson can hear what they're saying, and then telling Percy, which having him find out that way, feeling a sense of betrayal, and as a result, making sort of Tyson the sort of like probably the one person he can trust right now. Which I do like some of the small moments you have with Percy and Tyson, like when Tyson is telling Percy that he wrote a letter to Sally, and then Percy offering Tyson to spot on the chariot race, if you will. And then just encouraging Tyson, you don't have to hurt people, just defend, if you will, and all that stuff, since he wasn't comfortable with harming people. I do like, even though Tyson is clearly more in the show a bit more is being a bit more older, more mature, because Cyclops is age much more slower than humans in the books, but Tyson's a bit more of a, I guess, portrayed more of like a teenager, because, well, I don't think they could really get a kid to portray as someone as big as like Percy and Annabeth, but I think they do a good job of making him sort of like a clumsy, sort of gentle giant, if you will. I think that's fine for the changes with his character. So I do like the sort of moments there you have between those two. So yeah. So I thought that was fine. Anyway, in this, interestingly, we have some new characters as well as some existing characters that are not yet to show, that should not yet show up, but also characters that who should be showing up, not showing up, if you will. Which I might have modeled that, but basically, well, you've got like Clarice's future boyfriend Chris here, which is a bit surprising because he's supposed to be on Luke's ship. So I wonder if there's going to be some sort of like betrayal spy thing down the road with him. All that stuff. Instead, he seems to replace the Stool brothers. Granted, the Stool brothers don't necessarily affect anything in the plot, but it was always fun to see them around being mischievous thieves, if you will. And I do wonder if we will see them, though. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to do something with Chris being here, but then turning traitor to your spy, if you will, to sort of build up that traitor arc before having his redemption down the line. Let's see, as he only really sort of developed, he was only like briefly cameoed in the book, and then let's see, had a bit of a role in the 4th and 5th book with Clarice, but yeah. So I'm wondering if it's more down the lines of that. So yeah. Let's see. They seem to have decided to add a new character called Bronte. Let's see, who seems to be a bit of a loyal, sister to Annabeth, which on one hand I'm not against, but I'm surprised they didn't include Malcolm Pace, who is like the only other named Athena cabin kid that we know of. Let's see, so you figured they might use him for this sort of race thing and all that stuff, but I guess they wanted to do a different character who would like Annabeth would talk to about taking out the Poseidon cabin, or be one of the volunteers to go on the quest, if you will. So I think that was fine. What am I missing? Mark, well, like I said, he's already a child of Ares that was mentioned, but it actually gets to appear, so I think that was fine. Anyway, the cabin meeting about the quest, I'm mixed. On one hand, I do find it funny that Tantalus is taking credit for like all of the stuff that Percy found out about the coordinates and like the Golden Fleece and all that stuff. But on the other hand, I'm not really a fan of how Percy seems to, like, after protesting once and getting towed down by the campers, not to try and protest back a bit, because I really like the sort of scene in the book where Annabeth and Percy waited until like the cabin night to reveal that they know a way to save the camp with the Golden Fleece, and a way that would force Tantalus to call on the quest, because it's like in front of every camp and they say, "We need the quest, we need the quest, we need a quest." So yeah, I mean, that was a very clever moment they did, only for Tantalus to then just pick Clarice and then cause like a massive eruption of the camps, Ares cabin versus Athena, if you will, all that kind of stuff, before Tantalus calms them all down and reveals the story of how he got sent to the underworld, even though he didn't really necessarily name himself, but you get the idea and the hints of what he did. So unfortunately that didn't put her in, but yeah. Anyway, I do like the sort of like the fact that you've, instead of the book where Grover's wearing the dress, you got Percy in the wedding dress. But yeah, I thought that was like funny. But yeah, it's mostly the stuff with like Percy talking with Grover about the Polyphagonus who has the fleece, trying to make him as a bride. That is for the most part accurate. But I do like how with the changes they did, they have Grover pointing out that, okay, Chiron probably told Annabeth and to do what she did when Percy thinks Annabeth has betrayed him. And they do have that talk. And I do like, let's see, how Annabeth talks about how, since she's lived the life of a demigod, she can't necessarily adjust to like regular human, like how regular non-demigod humans do. Like, it makes sense that for her, roller coasters will not be anywhere near as exciting as some of the events that she's gone on with Luke and Thalia, and then later Percy last year. But if they're doing this sort of like personal conflict between Percy and Annabeth with this stuff, I think it's for the most part done well. Neither looks necessarily a bad guy. You can understand that Percy's arguably justifiably upset and not being left out of the dark, but perhaps maybe lashing out too much. But Annabeth were probably wrong to not tell Percy. This is mostly doing it under Chiron's orders, but even though I prefer the book's interactions a bit more of the hostility they had, particularly around Tyson and the Cyclops, but I think they're doing well with what they are, the changes they did here. I do like how it's Tantalus that's trying to kill them, because making a bit more of a recurring antagonist instead of like Harpies trying to bite. So I thought that was fine. Granted, I will admit, it seems like the show's budget of like I can't recall. Well, no, granted, I can't recall if there was a boat in the books. I do know that eventually there's like the magic seahorses, but I can't recall if they came in now or if they did do a boat first. Which, I might be making it wrong. It might be the boat. I don't know. I need to reread the Sea of Monsters again. So yeah, but yeah. One thing I'm a bit mixed on is Hermes and Percy. On one hand, you got like a few funny jokes, like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, goes well. So I think, if I recall, Percy met Hermes in Vegas, but yeah, which didn't happen a lot in the books, but they did that in the show, which I don't know, it's fine. But yeah, I do like how Hermes is like trying to be at least seemingly positive, but I'm not sure about him being a bit more negative when the subject of Luke goes in, because let's see, Hermes is quite understanding that while Percy might not really trust or forgive Luke, at least is being patient and understanding why he's like that, but like also not giving up on family. Hermes seems a bit more aggressive in his defense, but I don't know. Granted, I will admit I do miss that George and Martha are not shown in with Hermes, which is a bit of a shame. But I guess two talking snakes. They don't have the budget for that, so yeah. Overall, I think I'll give this episode more of a 7 to 7.5 out of 10. I thought, well, good. I don't think it was as good as the first episode. I'm not necessarily agreeing on all the changes, but I do think the chariot race was fun. Percy and Grover's interactions were fun. Mixed on the cabin meeting to discuss the quest. I do like seeing some new characters, but at the same time, I wish we got some of the characters from the book showing up at this point. But yeah, especially with the cabin mates you are. But I'm not against them building up Clarice's relationship with Chris a bit more in the books, and compared to the books, if you will. So I think that was fine. What else was there? And then that one cabin mate that Annabeth talks to her about of taking out the Poseidon chariot thing. So yeah, some nice Tyson and Percy bonding moments, if you will. Yeah, let's see. And I guess I'll have to wait and see where they go with some of the changes, such as Chiron telling Annabeth not to tell Percy and let him on the quest, if you will. So yeah, I wonder how they're going to play with that stuff, because if you're like a book reader, you know that there's a great prophecy down the line that involves Percy. But yeah, so you see, so I'm wondering how that will go down. And I do, even though I probably prefer the conflict in the book, I do think that the two actors who played Percy Jackson and Annabeth Percy Jackson and Annabeth did quite well with the glitzy context that they were given. So yeah, overall, it's a good episode, and I think the episode's also a tribute to. Hold on, let me just. Hold on. I think this episode was a tribute to someone, but I can't recall what it is. But yeah, I think someone had recently died that worked on the show. But yeah. But overall, I'd say these first episodes, I think a solid start. Granted, there's some changes I think work. Some I can understand. And some I'm not sure about, but I have to wait and see how the story goes. But yeah, overall, I think the show is fun. Would I prefer an animated adaptation of Percy Jackson with more accurate? Probably. But for now, we've got the live action. And I think so far, it's proven to be quite successful. But for now, I am Blue Star Saber signing off. Thank you, Power to the 99, for your comments, talking about the changes. I'm glad that you at least someone made a comment, but yeah, hopefully more in the future. But for now, I'm Blue Star Saber. Goodbye, and see you next time for the next Percy Jackson episode or One Piece. So yeah.